Before we start, just a quick introduction to eCommerce. If you don't know us, we're an e-com agency specializing in Adobe Commerce and Magento. We've been in this sector now for over 10 years. We're a commerce certified Adobe solution partner. We also work really closely with PayPal. We build and maintain all of the Braintree integrations with Adobe Commerce. We've got a team of around 50 of us based all around the UK, HQ in Brighton, but people around the country, Liverpool, Manchester, Bristol, and a few scattered in Scotland as well. So we've got a really good, really solid team, and yeah, we like to think we know our stuff, and hopefully we're going to be able to share some of that insight with you guys today. In terms of what we do day to day, the bulk of what we do outside of the payment space falls into one of these three categories. So we build new things for clients, whether that's websites, front ends, integrations, everything Adobe Commerce and Magento. For our clients, we also typically run their websites as well. So that means typically ongoing support, maintenance, bugs, upgrades, patches, like the one we've had today for our clients. And we've got an innovative model to be able to do that called unlimited support, which focuses less on hours and more about delivering proactive value for our clients. What we're taking you through today and the work that Luke and the team have been doing is a really good example of some of that proactive value that we add for our clients. And we also help our clients to grow. So that might be development roadmap, it could be CRO, UX, strategic consultancy, anything that helps them and their sites grow towards their objectives. Okay, cool. So that's us and eCommerce. Onto the webinar itself. Today really centers around what we've seen in the market. We know that a lot of Adobe Commerce merchants and the development teams, whether that's in-house or externally, don't fully utilize the features and the tools that are available in the stack. We know from our experience that a lot of those features can be incredibly useful, particularly when understanding performance. And we're going to cover some of that today. Some of those key features, some of the things that we know from our experience, explain how we use them and how we add value for our merchants. So if you're a merchant joining us today, hopefully we'll be able to point you in the right direction to be getting extra value out of your stack. And if you're a developer internally or externally, there's a few tips and tricks and additional resources for you guys as well. So hopefully we're going to try and cover everything. Luke's here to add, obviously, the technical detail. I'm here from a client merchant perspective, keeping things in layman's terms, hopefully as well. And then lastly, before we get into the bulk of the learnings, anything you see from us today is a real example. So we've anonymized everything, obviously, but none of this is theory. All of this is based on our real experience. Okay, cool. So without further ado then, I'll kick off with the first key learning that we wanted to share today. I know personally from working really closely with our clients that there's a lot of performance chat happening in the ecosystem right now. You can't open LinkedIn without there being some kind of discussion going on about performance. And as a result, lots of tools and charts and different pieces of software being used to report on performance. There are some really good tools out there, but we know that some tools just show you averages and estimates. And I guess the first big key takeaway is that there really is no substitute for real user data. And one of the best ways to get access to real user data for your sites is via New Relic, which, of course, if you didn't know, is available to all Adobe Commerce Cloud customers. At this point, that's enough from me. I've kicked us off. I'm going to hand you to Luke, who's going to show you how we use New Relic, and specifically a module that we've developed to help clients and the wider ecosystem get more value from New Relic. So over to you, Luke.
Thanks, Duncan. So real user monitoring allows you to track what your users are actually experiencing while they interact with the website. There's no guesswork, no server reports saying everything's all green when the experienced user is getting something different. This allows you to focus in on what your customers are actually seeing. So real user monitoring allows you to see your 3 core web vitals. Your 3 web vitals are LCP, which stands for largest contentful paint, which is a measure of how quickly your page loads. INP, which is a measure of interactivity and stands for interaction to next paint. And that's how snappy your interactions are whenever you're clicking around the website. And then you've got CLS, which is a measure of visual stability on your website. So if you're navigating your website and everything's jumping around, that'll be a bad CLS score. By default, New Relic browser monitoring allows you to see the overall scores by device, but these are not commonly configured or surfaced. Many merchants and agencies don't even know these are available. Getting a view of this allows you to see what your customers are actually seeing across your website. That's the top row there. So you'll see the LCP overall, INP overall, and CLS overall. That's what you have by default in New Relic, but it's not even surfaced. What we have is a free module to supplement this data and allow you to segment by page type. This allows you to see products, listings, checkout, or any other key areas of your website, like custom B2B sections. This allows you to see the individual areas, how they perform, and how that affects your overall score. From these graphs, you can create an alert. This allows you to monitor for regressions to help you track as changes are deployed through and never be caught by surprise. A lot of people only monitor performance during release cycles, but that's missing a trick. You should be constantly monitoring and responding to issues as they arise, as they may occur outside of a release cycle. Third-party JavaScript A/B tests can affect your scores. With this kind of visibility, you'll finally understand where your performance bottlenecks live and prioritize impactful changes. Next slide, Duncan. So the previous graphs let you see what pages need attention. Here's a few tips on how to drill in and actually make those improvements. On the left, you can query your data for an affected session by looking at your page type, your device, and the performance issue that you see. On the right, you can use that discovered session ID to load a trace for that customer and see their detailed interactions and experiences on the page. This allows you to go from a really broad section of data, overall score, then to page type, and then into really narrow slices. This is massively helpful when making targeted improvements to your website. Thanks.
So yeah, I guess to recap then, if people aren't using New Relic already, they should be. Massively untapped resource. If people are using New Relic, they're potentially only getting part of the picture, and the run module that you've just explained there, Luke, gives that extra layer of data to understand performance more granularly. So really, really useful. Cool, thank you. Next up, the second thing that we wanted to bring to the table is more around the back end of a Magento Adobe Commerce store. Again, conversation out there in the ecosystem, lots and lots about front end technology, lots of conversation around the benefits of Hoover, Adobe bringing out their edge delivery services and the new SaaS offering. But what we find is that sometimes there's no point in having a shiny new front end if you've not also done the work to fix underlying performance and platform issues. Adobe, obviously, Adobe Commerce, extremely powerful platform, allows you to add tons of complex custom features into your heart's content, many integrations, many modules, but with all of that great power often comes a lot of performance debt, and that's something we've experienced firsthand from working with Adobe Commerce merchants over the years. So while obviously the previous learning around front-end performance, that's critical, there could also be potential performance debt hiding beneath the surface. And Luke's going to show us how we might uncover that performance debt.
Thanks, Duncan. Pardon me. Background jobs are the lifeblood of Magento Instance. to ensure your orders progress, stock movements are updated, your transactional emails. Basically, all your key business data relies on background jobs working properly and efficiently. Prior to Magento 2.4.8, there was a bug which discarded about 90% of all your background data in New Relic. This has left a massive hole in your ability to monitor and support your website. This is an example graph where you can see where we patched a client for this bug. We took a couple of actions over the week period, but you can see after the patch was applied, the throughput for background jobs has gone from about 10 to nearly 100. This is very nearly 90% of all the jobs that were not being tracked. We finally have a true view of what the system is doing during this time, and from there we can make real improvements. Now, given that these background jobs are often the heavy processing away from the customer, this leaves us without a clear view of what's going on in your infrastructure as well. If you've ever looked at a flood of traffic hitting your website and it has a disproportionately negative impact, or if you've ever felt that you're just not getting a true view of what's going on under the hood, it's very likely you've had heavy background tasks running at the same time that just simply weren't being recorded. And if you're not tracking it, how are you supposed to improve upon it? I've got one more example Duncan's going to flip over to. This is a detailed example of a specific background job, and it's your indexers. Anyone who's dealt with custom integrations or data in Magento has worked with indexers. They're responsible for your price, your stock, product category association, sales rules, catalog rules, and a bunch of custom integrations have their own indexers. Prior to 2.4.8, you had no visibility on one of the most critical aspects of your Magento system. You can see here when we patched this instance, we suddenly had data flowing in. Now, this isn't something new we added. This is just actually seeing what was actually going on there. So if you've ever battled stuck indexers, this would be really helpful. Once you can monitor something, you can put an alert on it. So you can tick those 3 dots at the top right, create an alert condition, and then from there you can configure an alert to turn something that would be reactive into something proactive. This is one small bug fix we applied to Magento, and we're able to get buckets of extra value out of New Relic and see what's actually going on internally. One thing we saw on some clients that may impact you if you're still on Magento 2.4.6 or lower is that there's a bug in those versions which can cause data to be reprocessed many times. Pardon me. Pardon me. We have seen a 10 times improvement in indexer performance by applying this one little patch, which we will share at the end of the slides. With proper monitoring and alerting, you can just let your data processes work away without having to handhold or worry about them. Just let your background tasks be in the background.
Cool. Thanks, Luke. So again, yeah, just to recap, unless merchants who are dialed in are on 2.4.8, on version 2.4.8, there's a task to go away and do. There's the patches to be applied, particularly if you're on 2.4.6 or lower. Right. And again, it's about, like you said, it's about uncovering what's actually happening, because if you can't see it, you can't do anything about it. So that's another kind of key takeaway here, I guess, and a key learning for today. Okay, so finally, in terms of the key learnings, one of the biggest underutilized resources in the Adobe stack is Fastly, again included. It sits on the edge of your Adobe Commerce Cloud, quietly handling the traffic, but there's so much more value that it can add. And you might have guessed the format by this point. I'm going to hand back to Luke, who's going to explain how we use Fastly and how you could use Fastly to better understand and optimize the performance of your e-com stores.
Excellent, thank you. So yeah, Fastly is provided as part of your Adobe Cloud infrastructure. It's really powerful and gives you lots of things to customize and configure, but we rarely see people taking full advantage of it. When a page is served from Fastly's full page cache, it will be delivered to the user in milliseconds without hitting Magento at all. So it's about as fast as a page will be able to load. Therefore, it's really important to ensure you have a good cache hit ratio. So again, the first thing you do here is make sure you can monitor it. Here's an example graph, which allows me to see the hits and misses for one of our projects. From here, you can start making real impactful changes and seeing the results. So one thing you should do is make sure you have your marketing and tracking tags up to date. Otherwise, each unique tag will be a cache miss. That's something we see a lot of sites missing. You should also track your purge requests and make sure you don't have any customizations which are forcing this to be purged more than is necessary. When you start putting all of these things together, it becomes really powerful. You'll see stock and data pushes going in, affecting your indexers. You'll see your indexers having the corresponding effect on your cache hit rate. And then you'll see the relationship your cache hit rate has to what the real users are seeing on the front end of the website. It really lets you see your system operating as one big interconnected whole, and it's really awesome. Thanks, Duncan. Next slide. So another great win from Fastly is the ability to customize responses without making code changes. You can apply Fastly snippets in the admin panel to tweak or change responses. There's a lot of really powerful things you can do here, and we don't see a lot of people using it. So this is an example snippet to get you started with something that's sort of hot in the performance circuit right now. It's called back forward cache, or BF cache. BF cache allows almost instant page navigation when a user hits the back or forward button in the browser. Instead of reloading the entire page from scratch, the browser keeps a version of it in memory and just restores it when navigated with back or forward. This is particularly useful for mobile devices where the back button is heavily used as people are flicking around the website. You would have to deploy and test this for your specific case, but for many of our clients, this is a clear win. So you can see here the results for one of our clients where we enabled BF cache using a Fastly snippet. And now nearly 12% of mobile requests are being served instantly to the customer. So you're not going to get a much better performing page than that. But we call it near instant because it's as fast as the device can render it, basically. Another thing we frequently see being missed is Fastly's deep image optimization. Enabling this allows Fastly to take over image compression and conversion from Magento and to handle it at the edge. This has multiple benefits. It's cheaper processing as it's not being handled by your Magento server. Reduce storage costs because the resized images don't need to live on your Magento media directory. And last but not least, it just does an amazing job. So this is an example from one of our clients. This client uploads a lot of high quality PNG images, which are notoriously large files and hard to compress. So we can see here that the raw image that was uploaded was about 6,500 kilobyte. The Magento application attempt to compress was about 1,400, and Fastly's attempt was 31 kilobyte. So that's 99.5% smaller, and it's being converted to the modern WebP format in the background. This doesn't even cover everything that the Fastly DIO module does. It does resizing of images and a bunch of other things. I heavily recommend you look at it and turn it on if you're on Adobe Cloud. One caveat, by default, this only works for product catalog images, but a well-motivated team can push this further. It only takes one change to be able to compress all your CMS content, for example. People have been talking about image size, compression, conversion for years, but it's just sometimes hard to keep on top of, and mistakes do happen. So if we can build something in the system to just get out of the way of these content teams and allow it to just work, then we absolutely should. And in this case, Fastly is excellent at it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that last one, Luke, around image optimization is so key. I see it time and time again, particularly when we're talking to new potential clients as well, really struggling with their image optimization. And like you said, you kind of want to let the system do the work and not rely on that compression happening with marketing teams or teams around the business who, you know, with one upload can undo a whole load of hard fought optimization from a development point of view. So yeah, like you said, the more the system can do the heavy lifting, the better. I'm going to start to guide us towards wrapping up and get into questions. But before we do, just to emphasize some of the key takeaways really, and some of the key things that we wanted to get across to you all today, particularly merchants who have joined us. Obviously, like we said, with so much noise out there, so much conversation happening around performance, The big thing, and I guess to summarize it all, the nice little bio is to quote what Luke says all the time, which is that you can't fix what you can't see. So hopefully what we've shown you today, with a mix of kind of high level thinking and also the technical detail as well, is the tools that you've got available to you in Adobe Commerce to help you understand that performance of your site, and in particular the real users of your site as well, and the fact that nothing really gives you a better indication of your site than that, and that your teams, your developers, whether that's internally or externally, have that available at their fingertips, and have tools like New Relic and Fastly to enable the improved performance of your sites, and as well with a little help of that run module can get increased visibility as well. Hopefully that's given you some food for thought. We've got a QR code here which has got a couple of resources that we've referenced. There's the run module that we've been talking about, the background job patch that we referenced, particularly those of you still on 246 or lower. We've got a link, a GitHub link to the patch that we've seen that Luke said the 10x increase in indexer performance. That's in there as well as the Fastly image optimization docs as well, if you need those. So I'll pause there for a few more seconds while we give you guys a chance to grab that QR code, and then straight on to questions. It says hit me with your best shot. It's hit me with your best shot and I'll deflect the question to Luke is probably what's going to happen. Maybe I'll do a bit of filling between the question and answer. I've got one to kick us off, Luke, I guess, while people are having a think and typing their questions into the chat. We've mentioned kind of three key areas there, a bit of front end optimization and visibility, back end, and also Fastly on the edge as well, and the optimization that can happen there. If I'm a merchant and I'm not doing any of that currently, where's the best place to start? Which one's going to give me the biggest bang for my buck, if you like?
Real user monitoring, particularly if you're already paying for New Relic browser monitoring, get that plugged in, installed, see what's happening to your users and your customers. From there, you'll actually know where you need to sort of target your improvements. It may be that your site behaves very well, but the PDP needs a bit of love, or only from mobile devices on some aspects. Yeah, definitely get the run in, see what's going on. You should learn the LCP, IMP, and CLS metrics in New Relic. Is there extra configurations for these metrics, or they're out of the box? So if you have New Relic browser monitoring plugged in, those are out of the box. They're just not surfaced very well. If you go onto the run module that we have an example dashboard, which will give you the dashboard that was on screen earlier. That dashboard shows you the P75, which is the 75th percentile. Google says your score should be below that, so 75% of your customers should have a load time less than 2.5 seconds, for example. So if you go onto that New Relic module, you'll see there's a sample dashboard for you to upload. And once you upload it and configure it, you can actually view the queries on each of those dashes to really get you started. So I've given you the key critical things that you need. And from there, you can start querying the data for anything else that you may be interested in for any custom page types.
Nice.
So hopefully that answered your question, Simon.
Good stuff. Another question coming around the patch ID to improve indexing performance. That one is on the QR code, I believe, Luke.
Yes, that's correct. That's it's pull request 36155.
Cool. There you go.
It's on the
top of your head, that was, wasn't it?
I've looked at it long and hard years ago, and it stayed with me. It made an impression. It made an impression on my graphs, so it stayed with me.
Indeed. Okay. Another question from me then, around, my first question was, what if people are doing nothing at the minute, not using that data? I guess the reverse of that is, what happens if you're already doing all this stuff What else? How do you get to the next level from here? If you've got all these things in place, where do you take it?
If you've got money to spend, I can't recommend looking at RunVision enough. With the Adobe Cloud license, you get New Relic bundled in, and it has a degree of real user monitoring. But as you've seen, we need to do things to sort of surface what we need. Whereas RunVision's very heavily catered to getting that information in front of you. They also have some newer modern techniques, particularly the INP metric. There's a new technique that was out last year called LOAF. I'm not going to get into it now, but New Relic only has that on the sort of roadmap, and I would love if it had it here for me now. Whereas that's supported by tools like RunVision,
Cool.
so you get a little bit of extra benefit there. But again, if you're starting from zero, look at what you have in New Relic, fix your LCP, your CLS, see what's actually happening, and then see if you need that.
Cool. Good stuff. Thanks, Luke. And if you've missed it or you missed the QR code, Emily's helpfully pasted the link tree into the chat as well, so you can get that. Not just witty intro slides that you're adding here, Em. Good stuff. Anyone got any more questions? I can see a couple of people typing, so we'll fill for a second or two. Allow those to land in. I won't ask you for another joke, Luke.
Yeah, good thing I don't know any.
Good news, my internet's held up, which is always a worry on these things. Okay, cool. So Peter's asked, if you're in 248 or moving to 248, do we still require the patch?
To be able to see all the background jobs, so that was only patched in 248. So if you're on the 248 series, you should be absolutely golden with visibility for your background jobs. If you're not on 248, then you should definitely apply this patch and see what's going on. I have said this to some people in the past, and they slacked me with panic and fear because their metrics dropped. And that wasn't because the patch made their metrics drop. It's because the patch showed them what was going on, and the metrics were bad. It actually allowed them to see what was going on. So I had a few friends in the past who have passed that over to, and they had a bit of a panic. So just to be aware of that. You will finally see what's actually happening.
Yeah, just actually know for once what's happening.
Yeah, that may be a shock, or it may be pleasant.
Yeah, we can't guarantee that bit. Guarantee that bit. So yeah, props to you, Peter, for being up to date on 248 or on your way to 248. So
absolutely. I raised that background issue with Adobe in 2021. So it's taken them quite a few years to get that one patched. It's out there now.
Better late than never, eh?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I think that's it. I said we'd be presenting for around half an hour, and we've done, and we've given everyone a little bit of time back and still had time for questions. So unless anyone's got any last minute things they want to add via the chat, I think we can wrap up. Like I said, you'll get a recording of this directly into your inbox. If you wanted to share with colleagues, we are also going to make this an available resource on our website as well. So keep a lookout for that. And of course, if you need any of our support or there's anything, any questions that you've got, please do reach out to Luke and myself. If we're not already connected on LinkedIn or you're not following us, please do add us both personally and via Gene, and we're always promoting our events, promoting our webinars, promoting all of the good stuff that we're doing. So hopefully you found it useful today. Thanks for all your questions. Thanks for joining. Like I said, especially on a day where there's a little sneaky P1 patch that's been added in as well. So I will leave Luke to get back to that, no doubt.
We do have one person typing to sort of see the last minute question coming in. Do you know any jokes?
I don't know. Oh, Luke.
Oh, haven't had much experience diving into it, frankly. You know, New Relic. I'm sorry, New Relic. Fixated on New Relic. Adobe's many different products. in this case, I was just recommend using the tools that you're already paying for, already plugged in, and already tracking run. It's sort of common in the sort of run space to make sure you're not double or triple running. And with Adobe Cloud, you already have this plugged in and tracking.
Less is more in this instance.
Yes, absolutely. If you do too many runs, you'll actually make things worse because real user monitoring is technically tracking. And if you track too much, then it can slow down your customer's experience. And if those things start stacking up, you'll start getting negative impact.
Yeah, the irony. Trying to track something and making it worse at the same time.
100%, yeah.
Cool. Thanks for that question, Alex. And I think then we will wrap things up there. So yeah, again, thanks everyone for joining. Looking forward to catching up with you all soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.